Hey guys, I just want to get it out of the way that I do not look cute. This is not. I just came home from the end of a all week long training that I was running after 7 months of work, and there was a flash flood. I got wet. It's a whole thing, but I could not wait another second before telling you all about this book. So I don't know what's happening with my hair. We're just gonna accept it and move on. So we are reviewing an arc today of Sammy Espinoza's Last Review by Taylor K. Mejia, as long as I'm pronouncing all of that correct. This book, I have an arc, but this book is actually already out. Again, I have so many of them that we're releasing in the month of July. I basically just have to do them in the best order that I can. So if you like this book, you don't have to wait. You can go to your local bookstore or your local library and pick it up if you like what I'm about to say, and I really hope that you do, because do you know, like, when you start a book and you just get that feeling, that quality feeling in a book where you're just like, oh no, this book is about to wreck my life. You can't stop reading it, you're really invested, and you kind of just have this sense that like emotional terror is coming. Yeah, that's this book. Like, in the best way. I love this book, and the fact that I love it is honestly just shocking because of the main like trope that this book uses, because it's not my favorite thing, and we're going to talk about that. But first, what is Sammy Espinoza's Last Review all about? Well, this is the story of, you may have guessed, Sammy Espinoza. Sammy is a music critic and writer from Seattle who has broken all of the rules of her profession. Basically, she was dating a musician named Juniper, and when Juniper was like basically threatening to end their relationship, Sammy kind of broke her professional code and wrote positive reviews about Juniper's band, even though she didn't really deserve it. So they broke up. It was very public. She lost a lot of readers because they realized that she was like not being truthful, or they maybe thought she had like lost her touch, whatever it was. And so her boss basically said, "You're done." And Sammy, in a desperate effort to save her job, her career, everything she has been working for her whole life is this job. She's always wanted to do music and be a music critic. She's like, listen, I think I have a lead on where this elusive former rock star named Max Ryan is making his solo album after leaving his band in a really dramatic fashion 7 years ago, and now potentially releasing new solo music. And so her boss is like, you have 2 weeks and one more chance, otherwise you're done. What this means is that Sammy has to go to the one place that she's ever really called home. Sammy had a really, really turbulent life. Her mother was always moving them around. One of the few spaces of stability that she had was when she lived in this really, really small town for like a year or so with her mom's former babysitter, who had a kid Sammy's age, and they became best friends. So Sammy goes back to this really small town and moves in with her childhood best friend Willa and her wife Brooke, and sets about trying to find Max Ryan. Turns out he's not that hard to find, because when Sammy is at her lowest of the low in a truck with a dead battery, shoving Cheetos into her mouth while she's wearing her rattiest pajamas, someone knocks on the door trying to basically ask her if she needs a hand. It's Max Ryan, and it becomes even more awkward from there. Sammy doesn't know what to do. He runs off before they can really have a full conversation, but Sammy leaves behind her wallet, and so it kind of gives them a chance to reconnect. You learn quickly that there are a couple of really, really awkward situations happening now that Sammy is back in this small town. The first is that this is the town where her father grew up. Her father died before Sammy was born. He was in high school with Sammy's mom. He died, he was killed by a drunk driver. He never met Sammy because that's when his mom was still pregnant, and Sammy has never met her father's side of the family. She knows that her grandmother is somewhere in the area. She thinks that her grandmother hates her and doesn't want to see her. And so she's like trying to avoid that, but also being like, hey, is this a time in my life where I finally get answers? The other thing that is revealed to you is that when Sammy and Max were both in their late teens, early 20s, they hooked up. And Max does not remember her. So while Sammy is having these conversations with him, she's remembering this like mind-blowing, life-changing night where afterward he just ghosted her, and Max does not remember her at all. So there's literally like nowhere to turn in the beginning of this book where there's just not like drama. The catch, of course, is that Max and Sammy start talking. They talk really easily. They become friends really fast. Max doesn't really remember her, and Sammy has not told Max either that they already hooked up once, and two, that she's a music critic there for an article on him. And she keeps not telling him. And so we've gotten to the point of this probably where you see why this book felt like it was built for me not to like it. Because the main trope of this book is miscommunication. It's also a single POV. You only ever get Sammy's point of view, which, as we all know, I'm a bigger fan of dual POV, but miscommunication is one of my biggest pet peeves in romance of all time. I judge it harshly. I'm not a fan. I'm really rude about it. And basically, if Sammy came clean to Max in the beginning, there wouldn't be as much tension in the plot, right? So she has to hold on to that for a really, really long time. And I swear to you, in any other book, I would be giving it a poor review, I think, because it hinges so much on that. In the end, though, I just had to keep reading. Like I said, this book had that quality of just like such a quality written book. That kind of quality that I just couldn't put it down. I was supposed to do so many other things with my day, right? I had plans. And I just sat and I read this book. I ignored the entire world that day to read this book in one sitting, because once I learned like more about Sammy and her life and realized how deep the family tangled was and how much personal work and trauma was in her relationship with her mom for moving them around, with her grandmother who, you know, she never met but always wanted to. Sammy was raised by her white mom, but her dad was a Latino immigrant. And so, you know, she knows that she has, you know, the Spanish language and culture on her dad's side that she's never learned. And so she just feels really alienated from a lot of people in her life. Even Willa and her wife, you know, they are making a stable home for themselves. And no matter how much she loves them, she still just kind of seems herself at a distance or at odds with their life because she doesn't understand this roots, this stability, the partnership, and she wants it, but it's really, really tough for her to wrap her head around. Max also has personal struggles of his own. Unfortunately, we don't really hear about his background life struggles until the end when he really opens up to Sammy. So I don't want to say too much about that. Again, why I don't like single POVs. I want to know all that stuff. But what is amazing is his and Sammy's banter. It's really fantastic. They start their friendship with like this 6-hour phone call, essentially, where they start to get really deep. And I mean, I could have listened to like a transcript of that phone call, right? Because the way that they talk to each other, the jokes they make, they riff off each other really well. I really loved that about their relationship. It was just really, really well written, and it made me smile. There is something about the ending that I wish that I could say to you, but it would be a huge, massive spoiler. And so I can't, but what I will say about the ending is that something rather large happens. And I was like, did we really have to go there? Did it really have to happen? Because the only thing that I could really see it like doing for the story was helping Sammy become something that I don't really think she needed that help to do. And I'm being intentionally vague, but it's such a massive, major something with tons of emotional ramifications that I was just like, did this really need to happen? I don't know. I know that it made me really, really sad. So maybe I just didn't want it to happen like emotionally, but yeah, I don't know if we needed to make that choice. I didn't like the miscommunication, but even on top of all of that, this book was just, it will make you laugh, it will make you cry. It just, it is one of those books, at least it was for me, where it just, despite having things in it that I wouldn't normally like, I was so distraught when this book closed, right? Because I was just like, what do I do now? What do I do? I don't know where I go from here. So if it wasn't already clear, this book, while a romance novel with a, great relationship, great romance in it, also is very emotional. There is death of a family member talked about and involved in multiple scenarios. Some of which happen more off screen and some of which happen more on screen, if you will. Like, her dad died very young. Her grandfather has also just died, and she's having this relationship with her grandmother, who is also an elderly woman. So there's a lot of discussion of that. So if that's not like a heart-wrenching topic in multiple ways you want to talk about, you may want to wait on this one. Like I said, there is a lot of family drama, a lot of complicated family trauma. And, Sammy is doing her best to pick her way through all of it. I think it's a wonderful journey, but it is, again, one that you have to be ready to go on with her. This is not a popcorn, fast, cutesy, light read. It has those elements, but it's also a very, very emotional story at its core. I loved that. I was so ready for that. I love it when books do that. But again, if that's not the speed that you're feeling, even just right now, I just want to let you know that that is definitely what this book is about. Like I said, this book is already out, so if you are interested in anything about anything that I have just said, you can go and check it out from your local library or your local bookstore, however it is that you get your books, and come, with your own opinions. If you've already read this book, please feel free to leave a comment down below or come back, leave a comment after you've read it. Do you agree, disagree? I really, really, really loved this book, and I'm sure that because I just kind of got hooked and suckered in, maybe there was some stuff that I missed because I was just so laser focused on the entire story. I was surprised how fast I read this one, and I know for a fact that whatever I read after it is gonna have to just be really spectacular, or I'm just gonna need to take maybe an elongated break, because this is absolutely one of those books for me where, I finished it and I just had to wow. So hopefully it's that for you. Even if it's not, I hope you enjoy it. If you don't, hopefully you will enjoy the next one that I review, or I will. I don't know, maybe I won't and you will. Reviewing's weird, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.